First, let's go to Madeline Rivera, who is live in Washington, D.C. with the very latest. And Maddie, that, of course, has to do with the situation involving Venezuela, which is top of mind for many on Capitol Hill today.
That's right, Carly and Todd. The White House says the president met with his national security team last night about Venezuela as lawmakers on both sides of the aisle call into question the legality of these boat strikes. At issue is a Washington Post report that Secretary of War Pete Hegseth ordered a follow-on strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd, killing 2 survivors. The Post reported the second strike was conducted under Hegseth's initial order to kill them all. The White House is not denying a second strike occurred, claiming it was done in self-defense as they push forward with what they call an anti-drug trafficking campaign.
On September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated.
Hegseth was saying on X, let's make one thing crystal clear. Admiral Mitch Bradley is an American hero, a true professional, and has my 100% support. I stand by him in the combat decisions he has made on the September 2nd mission and all others since. All of this coming as the administration ramps up pressure on Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro to step down.
What's the position on whether U.S. troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative
in
status?
Venezuela? I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table.
The president confirmed over the weekend that he spoke with Maduro last week as the U.S. military builds up its presence in the Caribbean with about a dozen warships and more than 15,000 troops. Carly and Todd.
All right, Madeline Rivera live for us in Washington. Maddie, thank you. Let's bring in former State Department Deputy Special Envoy under President Trump, Elie Kohanem. Elie, thank you so much for joining us. This situation has quickly ramped up with this phone call, news of this phone call between President Trump and Nicolas Maduro, where the president reportedly said leave the country, and Maduro agreed only under certain conditions that the president wasn't willing to grant. And we were initially told that our interactions with Venezuela had to do with fighting drug cartels and drugs from entering the country. It clearly appears to be more than just that. So it's just starting at the beginning here, because the president doesn't do anything without America first in mind. What do you think his ultimate goal here is with this pressure campaign against Venezuela, and why?
Carly, you said it exactly right. When I look at the situation in Venezuela, what I see is an America first policy as it comes to national security being played out for the American people. And if you think about what the president promised on the campaign trail, he promised that we would act like a sovereign nation. We were going to defend our borders, and that's what the Trump administration has done incredibly within 10 months, right? We've stopped the flow of migration into the country. And now this is also protecting our sovereignty by taking the fight to where it comes from, which is Venezuela. Venezuela has become a hub of the drugs that are flooding our country, that are killing our children. I can't think of a single parent in this country, Carly, that is not terrorized by the thought of these drugs reaching our children. I can't think of a single community in America, whatever your zip code is, that hasn't been impacted by the drugs that Maduro and Venezuela have flooded our cities and towns with. And so this is an issue that touches every American. And again, what we're seeing is an America First national security policy. We're seeing the president deliver on his promises to the American people. The most basic thing that any government promises its people is to protect its citizens.
So, Elie, why do you think Maduro has not yet taken this off-ramp offered by Donald Trump? I mean, it's not like Maduro has a military that can come even anywhere near close to our military. It's basically a bunch of ragtag individuals who cannot fight, who have outdated Soviet weapons. So why hasn't Maduro taken this off-ramp?
Well, you have to understand that Maduro is a narco-terrorist, right? So you're not dealing with a rational world leader. And Maduro has been backed by Cuba, by China, by Russia. Now, I think that Maduro's allies are about to abandon him, because nobody is going to take on the United States, just like you just said, Todd. So, I think that we're going to see this story develop very quickly. And what we're going to see is peace through strength. We're going to see that President Trump, again, is delivering on his promises to the American people when it comes to defending our homeland, when it comes to defending every town and every city in the country. And again, you know, putting our adversaries on notice that when it's necessary, the president has the full disposal of the U.S. military might at his hands, and he can take action when he deems necessary. And I also want to make a point here, Todd, that the president has every legal right to do what he's doing right now. We're hearing a lot of noise from the Democrats that would mislead the American people. But let's remember that the Trump administration has, from its outset of coming back into office, they declared both Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization and now Cartel del Solis. And so what that means is the president is, again, within his rights as our commander-in-chief to take action as necessary unilaterally.
Yeah, and there's news that Russia sent a team of people to Caracas to try and support Nicolas Maduro and advise him during the situation, because the thinking is that if a pro-America government enters power in the country, they will restart Venezuela oil production, which would, you know, take a dip in global sales and hurt Russian economy. So all of these countries are intertwined. And going to Russia, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is going to be meeting with Vladimir Putin today. Caroline Levitt yesterday described this as shuttle diplomacy. It certainly appears to be that. Where do you think things stand right now when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war? And could this round of negotiations ultimately lead to a peace deal?
Carly, you know what we're seeing right now is how much President Trump and his administration are dedicated to diplomacy. This is going to be Steve Witkoff's sixth trip to Russia. He's going to Putin with a 19-point plan that was developed by Special Envoy Witkoff and a former senior advisor to the president, his son-in-law Jared Kushner, on the heels of their successful peace plan with Israel and Hamas. And this 19-point plan includes the input of both the Ukrainians, the Russians, even the Europeans. And so what, you know, I think we can hope to expect is that Special Envoy Witkoff is going to deliver both carrots and sticks to Putin. The carrots are promises of greater economic development, and there's so much in it for Russia to bring this war to an end in terms of the peace and prosperity of his country. But on the other hand, I think Steve Witkoff is prepared to have some tough conversations with Putin behind closed doors. That could mean anything from increased U.S. sanctions, more military supply to the Ukrainians. All of that is on the table. And you know, the thing about Steve Witkoff is that he is President Trump's trusted emissary. And when you're conducting diplomacy, it means a lot for Russian President Putin to know that Steve Witkoff has the president's complete trust and confidence, and that he's really been empowered to conduct this highest level of diplomacy. Now, I do think what we can expect is that if Special Envoy Witkoff is able to deliver that message, we will eventually need President Trump to step in, right? Because as we've seen, you know, with 8 peace deals in 8 months, it eventually requires President Trump's sheer force of personality to get across the finish line.
You saw my eyes. That's where I was going. This is a key step, but the main step is getting Donald Trump in the room or at the table,
we shall
ending this war. Elie Kohanem, always a pleasure to have you, our friend. Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.